Good afternoon, everyone. How's everybody doing today? I know you can't answer it, so you could just think it in your head. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'm going to slowly talk a little bit at the beginning here as more and more people file in to join us for the webinar. We really appreciate you all coming here. We have a great treat today as we are going to have our partner, babyTEL, here to talk about faxing over Internet Protocol. And the Senior Vice President of the company, Dan Dorsey, is here to do the bulk of the presentation. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the partnership and how great it's been so far and of the good things to come and what we can do to help you sell babyTEL solutions through VoIP supply. But we're just going to wait here just a few more moments as folks file in. We've got a great turnout already. I'm amazed about the fax concept in general, and Dan and I had a funny conversation about it because he knows way more about it than I do. And I've always kind of wondered how long fax is going to last, and it keeps on trucking, and it's super important to so many businesses and so many vertical markets. So, and the one thing, the one thing I know is I've always struggled with is what's the best way to do it, and I think Dan's here to tell us what that is, and so that's a great thing. I've been in the industry for about this part of the industry for about almost 10 years now, and in IT in general for over 23. So over the years, this is the one thing that has always been sort of adjacent to everything I've worked on, and I always wondered the best way to do it. So fun stuff to have babyTEL here to present with us today. And I guess, Dan, if you want to push along, I could skip through the boring parts about VoIP supply, and we could start talking to folks more about babyTEL. So just to start, as part of the process here, since you don't all have voices during this to keep everybody from talking over each other, et cetera, during the webinar, if you want to, there's a Q&A function on the screen down in your right corner, and just feel free to put questions in there. It's a chat format, and I will watch them as I go, and I can pass them on to Dan, or if we don't get to them during it because of wherever we happen to be and we can't break or whatever, we'll get them answered at the end, and we'll leave time at the end as well. So. And now, this is near and dear to my heart. What I talk about every month, at least once a month, for somewhere around 15 minutes to a half an hour, is all the new upcoming promotions and products and things that are in the VoIP industry and that VoIP supply, about the VoIP supply partnerships and what we're doing every month. So our reseller program is the thing you're going to want to leverage to be able to sell babyTEL through VoIP supply, as well as to leverage all the other benefits of the hardware and other things that surround the industry. So we offer great things as a value add to being a partner at VoIP supply, including the rental program, hardware provisioning, our marketplace where you're going to find babyTEL. Our fulfillment services will allow us to ship products out to your customers directly on your behalf, ready to go when they get there. And our great refresh and reclaim program to kind of keep that capital expenditure down low for those situations where you can leverage it. So there's a lot of options here, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I do this every single month, and my contact information is going to be at the end of this. And if you want to reach out to me or anybody on the VoIP supply team about any of these programs that you see listed here, or you want to talk further about VoIP supply and how you can work with us to bring babyTEL solutions to your clients, we can do that at the very end. And of course, we'll get you this information following the presentation as well. Really, again, appreciate you joining us. Looking forward to hearing everything from Dan now about babyTEL and faxing over the internet. And of course, the topic, I'm not going to steal your thunder on it, Dan.
Well, thank you very much, Don. Good morning, and good morning to those out on the West Coast, and good afternoon to us here on the East Coast. I have to tell you, the weather up here in Montreal is fantastic, and I assume it is across the U.S. and the rest of Canada too. Unfortunately, COVID-19 has changed a little bit about how we present ourselves. So I hope this helps you all understand I can't really say emerging market of faxing over IP, but I'm going to say the steady and alive market of faxing over IP. Obviously, one of the prime motivators of faxing over IP is the elimination of the analog line, which is traditionally the analog or copper line has been the connection or the transmission wire for the fax modem card, the fax machine, the MFD. Um, but the telephone network is changing, and all our big suppliers and all the ILECs, AT&T, Verizon, Bell, are converting their networks over from the old traditional PSTN technology, which is the copper or analog line, and it's all being migrated to IP packet switch networks. So just our agenda and some of the bullet points I'll be covering. Obviously copper retirement, and then transitioning from analog to IP, and the benefits of HIPAA compliant IP faxing, and how copper retirement is forcing us to go fax over IP, and then migrating your fax environment. If you do have a question, take advantage of the little question box in the bottom right, and Haley and or Dawn can just jump in, and if it's a relevant question to what we're talking about, I can answer it right on the webinar. And I have left enough time at the end of the webinar to answer any questions. So let's jump forward. Just a quick overview of babyTEL. We've been in the fax business, fax over packet switch networks, since the early 90s. And we were building carrier grade platforms for fax over data networks. So we were, instead of faxing one fax line over 64 kilobits, we were actually using a compression technology to put 8 separate fax lines over a 64K data circuit. Now, in the days of very high costs for international long distance, this made sense because companies like Expedite, Sprint Communications, and Singapore Telecom, who were our customers at the time, would rent or lease a 64K data circuit, let's say from Singapore to Los Angeles, and they could run 8 faxes at a time down that link. So that, but when with the deregulation of the telephone network and certainly international long distance, the need for compressing faxes down data circuits really went away, and we had to pivot and take a different direction. So we jumped into the service market and started selling SIP and T.38 trunks. And we are Canada's first SIP trunk provider over the top, meaning that we went over the internet. We were not using direct links such as MPLS. We were going over the open internet, and we were having a lot of success with SIP and T.38 trunks. So just a couple of notable clients. You can see that I'm highlighting my retail, my Rockstar drink company, but also financial, and mainly where the demand is for fax today is healthcare, of course. So HIPAA compliancy is very important. The fact that fax is still a legal way of receiving and sending healthcare information. So the privacy laws and the fines and the liabilities that go along with someone not protecting healthcare information has also driven the value of fax to pretty much its height here today. So fax is still valuable in healthcare because it's a legal transmission, and the confirmation that comes back after a real-time transmission um, allows the healthcare institution to acknowledge that they have received or sent the email successfully, sent the fax successfully. So copper retirement, and you may or may not have heard this term. Let me define it here. It signals the telco's long process of migrating all of its old switching equipment to the new IP-based switching technology. While regular telephone calls have been easily adapted to the IP infrastructure, robust real-time faxing has eluded the carriers. babyTEL has successfully made this transition and offers its users and clients the best T.38 fax service in North America, if not globally. So let's talk about T.38 and more specifically a partnership with Patent Technologies, patent based out of Washington, D.C., babyTEL, and VoIP Supply on the distribution side. We built a partnership based on our T.38 patented encryption technology, and we loaded that up on a patent smart node. So this particular appliance and device supports T.38 out of the box. So it's HIPAA compliant out of the box. And it comes programmed, pre-programmed, and so when you receive this order for your client, it is truly a plug-and-play appliance. So we've put a lot of time and effort into perfecting the distribution channel so that when Don receives an order, he simply clicks on a link, enters the information, and this smart node, this gateway device, when it's shipped out from VoIP Supply, but when it arrives at your office or your client's office, it is plug and play. It is ready to go. So as soon as it gets plugged into the internet, it automatically downloads its configuration, which was pre-programmed back, frankly, at VoIP Supply and over the internet through our configuration server. So it's the patent hardware. It's the SN4140 Gateway Series. It is HIPAA compliant out of the box. It is real-time fax, so it's not a storage. This unit takes the transmission and is connected to the remote fax machine for reception or for transmission outbound, and it is real-time. So the confirmation comes back after the fax is on the other side of the transmission. There's no storage. Again, confirmation from the receiving fax machine. And we have designed a bundled offering. So on a monthly basis, you can pay, you can choose one of our all-in plans, and it includes the gateway. So it includes the patent SN4140. And currently, it's roughly $48 a month for unlimited faxing for one channel. And again, when we ship you the device, the cost of the device is rolled into the monthly service plan. So we have a monthly service price, and it includes all North American long distance faxing. So all your faxes, it's effectively unlimited. It's a fixed monthly fee. There's a DID fax number, and it's encrypted, AES-256. So babyTEL, we have a patent on encrypted faxing, encrypted T.38 faxing over IP. We're the only ones in the world that hold this patent, and it makes our technology that much more robust because we encrypt on real-time transmission. You know, we don't have to add VPN hardware or programming. Again, it's HIPAA compliant out of the box. And of course, the encryption is included in the cost. You get you get all the unlimited faxing across North America, and the encryption is included. So let me bounce something off Dawn. You know, do we have any questions that could direct the conversation and the flow here?
So, right, so far, I don't have a ton of questions coming. I don't have any questions coming on in from the folks participating right now. Feel free, by the way, to do that. Send chat questions along the way. One of the questions that I know kind of has come up a few times with me for partners that when I've talked to them about babyTEL is what do you guys do to ensure the best T.38 experience? Because I know as a VoIP guy, the T.38 experience has always been kind of, through lots of the providers, when you mentioned earlier that is eluded to carriers. What does babyTEL do to ensure that the T.38 experience is not just so much about the encryption aspect of it, but what does that do to, to make that the best experience for somebody?
Right. Thanks for the question, Don. Very good question, actually. So T.38 is a standard, IEEE standard for real-time faxing over IP or packet switch networks. What really happened is when these large carriers, the ILECs, the incumbent local exchange carriers like AT&T and Verizon, when they started first using voice over IP, they really concentrated on voice calls. So that meant, they were perfecting the quality and the robustness of making a voice call. Now, I don't blame them because 99% of their traffic are voice calls going over their network. Now, what happened is when they came out with the fax protocol T.38, the networks were groomed for voice calls, the IP networks. And fax works a little differently. It's got different characteristics that make it susceptible to being interrupted. So packet loss, jitter, delay, these factors can degrade the possibility of the fax transmission from being successful. So what babyTEL has done, we've concentrated our efforts and we've worked very hard. So, given our background and our history with fax over packet switch networks, we have concentrated our development and our efforts into making a very successful T.38 network. We use many carriers. There's a lot that goes into making a T.38 network successful, and we put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into making T.38 very successful for us and our clients.
Awesome,
so
Dan.
Don,
thank
I
you.
don't know if I completely answered your question, but did I leave anything out?
No, you didn't leave out anything that I would understand anyway. The parts you left out, I probably wouldn't get. It would probably be over my head. So I do have a couple other questions so far, kind of very specific ones too. One from Paul about the hardware that's included. But if it's an 8-port device, if they only have one fax machine, is there a lower cost option? Is there another way to be successful in installing your solution?
Okay. So this device here, the patent, the SN4140, this includes the encryption in the price. So if you don't need the encryption, yeah, there's a drop in the monthly fee. But certainly if you want the encryption, it comes out to $48 per channel per month. And that includes the encryption and the T.38 and up to 8 channels. Okay, so generally we see this being used in a couple of different ways. It can be used if you're installing any hardware in a where the demarcation point is, where the line comes in from the street, so the demarc. This gateway can be installed there, and then the analog lines, which were connected to analog circuits, you can just use a VIX board and repunch those so they connect into the back end of the gateway. What we do have some formats that are a little smaller, like a 1-port or 2-port gateway, but it doesn't include encryption. So we do have another small gateway that might be applicable if encryption is not required. Then we do have a smaller format for the 1s and 2s fax machines.
All right, that makes a lot of sense, actually. I'm going to get one more of these questions answered here before I kind of pile onto that encryption concept, because that made me think of some of the other stuff that comes up that's security related these days. But a question from Kurt about existing numbers. Is there any reason that they can't be ported to use with your fax services?
No, we support DID phone numbers, and we have our own porting department, so we can port numbers from 99% of the territories that cover like 99% of the population. So we manage the port process, make it easier for our clients, and we have a little. If you go on our website and scroll down to the bottom of the page, we have a little number porting generator, and you can see if your number can be ported. So we do support toll-free numbers for fax and DID numbers, and we can port them both.
And just real quick, you mentioned on the encryption side as a part of the reason to stick with the device from patent, which is very important. And you did mention the HIPAA compliance, which is one vertical, but so many of the partners I work with deal with other types of businesses that the information is just as important and just as important from a security matter. So law firms and things like that. Are you seeing traffic there? Is that another there are other verticals that are really this particular encryption aspect of the solution is most important?
Yeah, in addition to healthcare, we're seeing government is very interested in the encrypted. Given all the legacy fax technology installed around the world, like I said, governments are interested. We're seeing financial services also interested in healthcare. Those generally are the 3 top verticals where faxing plays an important role and is also a requirement for sending information, transmitting information. Yeah, Dawn, before we go to another question, I just wanted to touch again on copper retirement. I promise this, it won't be the last time I talk about it, but certainly I don't want to I just want to impress upon everyone that copper retirement, that the ILECs, AT&T and Verizon are committed to retiring the analog lines they have out in the field. And that's why some of you may have seen their pricing go up. So for instance, in my condo, I know this because I'm on the condominium committee, but they have 2 analog lines connected to the elevator telephone. So if you ever get trapped in an elevator, you have the opportunity to just pull that telephone off the cradle and say, "Hey, I'm stuck in the elevator. Someone come and help me." So what's happening is the numbers of uses for an analog line are quickly diminishing. And the old copper or PSTN network, um, the demand is to go everything to IP, and of course the cost of operating a complete IP packet switch network is a lot lower than operating the traditional copper or analog line network. So the copper retirement is happening regionally. There's generally a letter that goes out to clients who are using analog lines, and the letter states, within 6 weeks, we're going to be eliminating copper lines to your area. Call us now for a substitute service that we have that will operate over the new network. So often clients are surprised that they have to act very quickly and jump off the analog lines or copper lines and get into IP. And look, if you're surprised, most of the time, then you start asking questions. Well, what do I need to have my service have continuity of service? So that's when it's like the flag comes. Give Dawn, give myself, give Lisa, give Patton a call, give any of us a call, contact us, and we can talk to you about getting off the copper lines with this type of equipment and get you onto packet switch networks. So fax is the big one, right? We estimate there's anywhere between 10 to 15 million fax machines connected to copper analog lines in USA and Canada. So having said that, you are going to bump into clients that want to get off the analog lines, and this hardware from Patton allows you to do it quickly, easily, and plug and play. So we've really taken a lot of time and a lot of work with VoIP Supply too to make sure that this hardware is plug and play. So you don't have to be a genius to program it. You don't have to understand the nuances of T.38 or real-time fax. It just works. And that's because we've teamed up, with a fabulous manufacturer, Patton Technologies, and babyTEL is the back-end T.38 service provider with, like I said, probably the best T.38 network globally. We're able to deliver a wonderful product that simplifies the installation and makes it easy for you to recommend to your client base this just an appliance-based solution.
I'm glad you're talking about this and not me, actually. I don't have any more questions that came over since then. I mean, you've been very thorough about the topic and use cases and how the solution works. So I don't have any other questions right now. And folks, if you're listening and want to, feel free to hit that Q&A button and fire in your next question.
Yeah.
But I think that covered a lot. Unless you have anything that that are common questions that you're receiving on it, I certainly, of course, would be glad to help everybody, post
yeah,
webinar as well.
I wanted to make one more point, Don. When it comes to the order process, obviously the device has the encryption and it's also plug and play, like I mentioned. But for ordering, all it is when you make a phone call to Don and say, Don, get me one of these units. He will email you back a web link, and off that web link, that's where you enter all the client information. And once you hit the enter button, it's all in the background. That unit is shipped from VoIP Supply to your client. So understanding the order process is simple, stupid. So I made it very easy just by clicking on a link to order these boxes, these gateways. And that made it a lot easier for Don, and also for all you VARs or clients out there who want just a simple way of ordering. Again, a web link is, I felt it was the simplest way to go. And we tested it out quite rigorously with some free market clients, and they really enjoyed the fact that it was just a one click away. So, it's a one click solution. It solves a problem right away. The problem being that uh, the retirement of the copper is happening. It's coming. Um, and like I said, it's one click on a web link solves it for you. And of course, the client arrives, plug and play.
Good stuff. And I actually did get a quick question about pricing, of course, and I'm going to fire a quick link for the product up on the site for the 8-port box. And Gary, there's your answer there really quickly. Of course, work with your sales folks here too. So if, as a reseller partner, I think we do what we can to help you stay competitive in that market. So that's a tough one to answer on the fly without getting your do a proposal and stuff like that. So, but we're happy to do that.
Yeah, reach out to your VoIP supply representative. They have all the answers for this. I do want to emphasize too that this is one solution in the fax, the greater fax installations. So we do have HIPAA compliant T.38 for large production fax installations. And for the ones and twosies that don't require encryption, we have solutions for that. We also do have some store and forward solutions. You might be familiar with sort of the SMTP ones, email to fax, fax to email. So we do support services such as that. We pretty much have made our business the fax business. So we support all the real time and the SMTP fax services. So if you have questions in general about fax, again, just touch base with Don or the folks at VoIP Supply, or give Lisa a call at babyTEL, and we can explain to you all our solutions for faxing over IP. And lastly, if you have installations or you would like to try a demo, again, I would direct you to call Lisa or Dawn at VoIP Supply, and we can arrange for you to have a demo of the T.38 service. And oftentimes that demo allows people to get their production servers moved over to, or virtualize their production servers quite quickly. So again, we have a whole family of fax products. The one that I'm really concentrating on now is copper retirement, and the website copperretirement.com. If you jump and take a look at that, I'm going to be posting all sorts of solutions and stories and information on that website. So we're populating that website with information about the retirement of the copper network, and there will be constant updates about the situation. And lastly, I want to highlight, we estimate between 10 to 15 million fax machines installed in the U.S. So, fax machines or desktop faxing, if there's, between 10 to 15 million of them installed in the U.S., you can imagine that, yeah, I'm just going to do a quick numbers game. So let's say there's 10 million fax machines. We know that generally desktop fax machines, so not MFDs, but fax machines, so single line fax machines or desktop fax machines require an analog line. So we can estimate that there's probably 10 million analog lines out there connected to fax machines. And if we start taking those, sort of multiplying out the numbers, how much does a customer pay today for a single analog line? I know for my carrier, it's about $60 plus long distance. So we're at, so at a price of even, let's say, $50 plus long distance, you can see that 10 million lines times $50 a month is $50 million per month. And then we multiply that by 12, we got ourselves, I don't have my calculator.
A lot.
My brain's turning off. Yeah, so
A lot.
it's the market, it's a lot. It's half $500 million of analog lines are still sitting out there connected to fax machines. So
Exactly.
let's have $500 million. Let's go grab that market. And what we designed this product for was to make it simple, stupid installation. So it's plug and play. The box arrives, you bring it to the client premise. I mean, we all know how to plug in a telephone line, I hope. So a telephone line in one side, Ethernet on the other side, and away we go. And we've just replaced another copper line. So the market is huge, and let's get a large piece of that, and we can go get that very quickly.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, that covers a ton of territory, and I really appreciate it, Dan. I don't know, you did mention someone on this call a couple times, and I haven't seen her name on the screen yet. You talked about Lisa, who we work closely with here, and I would love to make sure that she gets up in lights, and that folks aren't afraid to reach out after watching this and talking to another expert over at babyTEL. So I'm here to help. Your sales team at VoIP Supply is here to help. But Lisa's awesome to work with and knows her stuff and can help you through the process of becoming an agent or answer your questions there too as well from the babyTEL side. So a lot of folks here ready to help you get the solutions in place and take some of that those dollars that Dan was just talking about and grab hold of those dollars and make it part of your business. Or if you happen to be signed up and you want to be saving money because you're paying way too much for your copper lines for your fax solutions, just reach out to us and we'll help you out.
Right. Thanks, Don. I put Lisa's contact info. If you need Don's contact info or Lisa, or you'd like to even drop a call to the manufacturer, all that information is on the website copperretirement.com. Okay, so Don's contact, Lisa's contact info. We also have a contact for Patton. Again, it's copperretirement.com. So the more, it helps us in our Google rankings if people come to the website and surf it and click through it. So come visit for sure.
Please do. Thank you so much, Don and Dan. And to everyone on the call, if there's any questions in terms of pricing, demos, documentation, and so forth, please do not hesitate to contact any of us. We're all here to help and address any questions or concerns anyone may have.
And I'm monitoring the questions and answers section. I don't have any more questions showing right now. So if anything does come up, again, this information is going to be available to you after this webinar as well. So reach out and we'll get things answered for you. And if there's anything else, parting thoughts, I want to throw up your beautiful photo at the end here so that
do I have a beautiful photo? There we go.
You can skip. You could skip the Q&A part because, and I'm sorry about the glare off the top of my head there. That I can't help. But here we are, and again, this will be available to you after this webinar. We'll send these out to you so that you can get back to this information at any point, or just call VoIP Supply and ask. The team here knows the solution, knows how to get me. I'm the only Don at VoIP Supply, and Dan's in beautiful Montreal. I'm just north of a very small city, so you may want to visit him and not me. But you're welcome anytime.
Yeah, but But you got the Governor Cuomo, the newest superstar of COVID-19.
COVID superstar? We got it. We do. He's at the other end of the state, though. It's quite alike. And I'm being a little goofy and being a little lighthearted at the end just to see if any folks put any more last-minute questions in, but I'm not seeing any. So if you'd like to wrap it up, Dan, it's up to you. Go for it, and then we'll sign her off.
Yeah, so quickly in conclusion, look, copper retirement is coming. The telephone networks have to get rid of their copper, their analog lines. And right now, we know the cost of those analog lines are quite exorbitant. They're up at like I said, we've seen $60 plus long distance in some cases. And look, this opportunity is available now. This is something we haven't seen in the telephone network in probably 100 years. And this is an opportunity. And we have the product, and Don's got the product in his warehouse right now. So we have this opportunity. At some point, the FCC and the large ILECs are going to get together and say, we're getting rid of copper by 2023. So look, let's act now. Let's get this done now, so your customers are not left out in a lurch. Or if you're a customer that has currently fax machines, let's make sure you get onto one of these appliances and move you over to T.38, so you're working your fax before you get that letter that says, we're retiring the copper circuits. So let's do it now. Let's switch everybody now and grab that 500 million fax market that exists out there in the U.S.
Awesome, Dan. Thank you. Thanks for everyone who's joined us today. Really appreciate it. And I look forward to talking to you about babyTEL and getting the solution in place for you and for your clients. Have an awesome afternoon, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.